Before we dive into this, just picture it. Late summer in Arizona territory, the kind of heat that makes you sweat just thinking about moving. The river's so low you can see the stones winking in the sunlight. Now, I wasn't looking for trouble that morning, but trouble has a way of finding people who aren't in a hurry. You know what I mean? I was riding the bay horse along the San Pedro, taking it slow, 'cause my left knee's been busted since a ranch accident 10 years back. I was just checking fence lines, making sure the cattle hadn't sniffed out a weak spot. That's when the horse froze up, ears forward, muscles stiff. Not a snake. This was different. And then I saw it, half in the water, half out. A man, face down, shirt torn to ribbons, blood soaking through fresh and old. When I rolled him over, I knew him. Natona, Apache chief. We'd crossed paths years back in a tense cattle dispute. His breathing was ragged, fever setting in fast. Whoever had done this wanted him gone. My head was telling me to ride on. Let the desert finish the job, 'cause harboring him could bring soldiers or bounty hunters. But I've seen what it's like to die alone in the dirt, and I wasn't about to let that happen. So I hauled him onto my saddle and took him home. I stitched him up in the spare room. Whiskey and boiled water doing the work neither of us trusted God alone to handle. Didn't know if he'd make it through the night, so I sat in the doorway with my rifle, waiting for the sound of horses. None came. By morning, the fever had eased. But he still hadn't spoken, just watched me with eyes that saw more than they gave away. 2 days later, I heard riders. 3 women, moving in sync like they'd been drilled that way since birth. The leader stepped forward, tall, black braid, beaded deerskin. I am Asha Natona. These are my sisters, Tula and Winona. We tracked our father. His trail ends here. I told her he was inside. They went straight to him. No gasps, no fuss, just checking bandages, taking his hand, nodding at my stitches like they'd passed inspection. Outside, Asha turned to me and said, "You saved our father. Our way is to repay such a debt. We will stay and serve you." I tried to say no, but they didn't wait for permission. By nightfall, Winona was cooking, Tula was cleaning rifles, and Asha was making rounds of the yard like it was hers. It was strange at first, having them there. I'd worked alone so long. I wasn't used to finding water troughs already full or tools put away before I touched them. They worked quiet, but they noticed everything. The fray on my saddle strap, the way my knee brace bit into my leg, the crack in a feed barrel. And all the while, Natona was getting stronger, walking the yard with a cane I'd made him. Then came the talk in town. 3 bounty hunters working the river, one with a boot missing a heel. I didn't need it spelled out. I told the women. They didn't ask questions, just set a watch. That night, Asha on the porch with a rifle, Tula walking the fence, Winona inside with her father. The next afternoon, I saw dust on the south trail. 3 riders again. The man with the broken boot right where I expected him. They stopped at my gate. "We're looking for an Apache elder," the lead one said. My answer was short. "No one here fits that description." Tula's voice cut in, cold as a drawn blade. "Then your trail is wrong." When the man with the broken boot let his hand drift toward his rifle, Tula fired so close to him splinters flew. The message landed. They left without turning their backs, and we kept watch till dawn. We all knew they'd try again someday. A few mornings later, Natona told me the truth. They'd been paid by men in town who'd lost trade to his people. The plan was to kill him, make an example. He said Tula and Winona would leave in 2 days, but Asha would choose her own path. That evening, Asha stood beside me on the porch. "I will stay," she said. "Not for debt. Here, I am not hunted. And you are a man who stands where he says he will." 2 days later, the others rode out. Tula's parting shot was, "Take care of my sister. Hurt her, I'll take the other knee." Yeah, that got a half smile from Asha. When the dust settled, it was just the 2 of us running the place. That afternoon, I hitched the wagon without saying why and drove us to the county office. The deputy looked up, already guessing. "Here to register marriage?" We signed the papers. No ceremony, no flowers, just ink and a handshake. I gave her a brass ring I'd been carrying for months. She slipped a braided leather one onto my finger. On the way back, we stopped at the river. Asha leaned against the wagon wheel, looking out at the water. "This place will be safe," she said. I didn't answer, just gave the kind of nod that means I'll see it done. When we got home, the sun was dropping, the yard quiet, the bay horse nickering in the corral. We worked through the last chores, then sat on the porch with cooling coffee, not needing to say out loud what we both knew. Whatever trouble came next, we'd meet it together. And maybe that's the thing people miss about this land. It's not just about holding on to your ground. It's about knowing who'll stand there with you when the dust rises. So, tell me, if you were in my boots, would you have walked away from that riverbank, or brought him home knowing the fight that might follow? You'd think after signing a paper down at the county office, life might slow down a little. Two people working the same land, no more bounty hunters at the gate. But that's the thing about peace out here. It's just the space between storms, you know what I mean? About a month after Asha and I made it official, I started noticing things that didn't fit. Little things. The latch on the south gate bent out, not in. A trail in the dust near the chicken coop that didn't match any boots I knew. And once, right before dawn, I caught the smell of pipe tobacco, strong, fresh, but neither of us smoked. I didn't tell Asha right away. She's the kind of woman who watches with her whole body. And I didn't want her looking over her shoulder when she needed to be looking ahead. But one evening, just as the sun was going gold over the ridge, she came in from the garden with that still look she gets when she's holding something heavy in her mind. "There's a man watching from the ridge," she said. "Has been for 3 nights." We didn't argue about whether she was right. I've learned when Asha says she's seen something, she's already sure. That night, we set a trap without saying the word. I took the porch like usual, cleaning my rifle in the lamplight. She moved through the yard, tending chores, giving the place that easy, nothing's wrong feel. But near the corral, she left the gate open just enough. A little bait for someone creeping close. It was past midnight when I heard it, the faint scrape of boot leather against wood. I stayed in the shadow, hands steady on the rifle. The shape that slid between the posts wasn't what I expected. Not a bounty hunter. Not even a man, not fully grown anyway. Kid couldn't have been more than 17, thin as a fence rail. Hair hanging in his eyes. Asha had him by the collar before he saw her coming. Dragged him into the light like she was pulling a fish from the river. He froze up, staring at the rifle in my hands. But his eyes, they weren't wild like a thief's. They were hungry and scared. "My father's one of the men you shot at the gate," he blurted. "He said you stole something from him." That's when it clicked. The broken boot bounty hunter. The kid was his son. Asha looked at me, and I could feel the question between us. Was this just a message? Or was the kid here for something worse? We sat him at the table, gave him coffee he didn't drink, and let the silence do the work. Finally, he said his father had been paid off by ranchers who wanted Natona gone. But when the job failed, the pay dried up. His old man blamed me for turning the tribe against business. That part made Asha's jaw tighten, but she didn't speak. We could have sent the boy back with a warning. Instead, Asha said, "You'll work here till the end of the month. Then you can leave, or stay, if you prove you're not your father." The kid looked at her like she'd handed him a lifeline he didn't ask for but wasn't about to throw away. And just like that, we had another set of boots on the ranch. He was green, didn't know a stirrup from a fence post, but he learned quick. And when he laughed, which wasn't often, it was like a reminder there was still something worth saving in all this mess. Of course, nothing that good lasts long out here. One afternoon, while we were mending a section of east fence, I spotted dust on the horizon. 2 riders, not 3. And riding in front, the man with the broken boot. The kid went pale. "If he sees me here," he started, but I cut him off. "Then you'd better decide whose side you're on." We didn't hide him. When those riders reached the gate, the kid was standing right there, holding the post steady while I tightened the wire. His father's eyes went hard. "Boy," he said, "come with me." The kid shook his head, voice steady. "Not anymore." I thought the broken boot man might charge the gate. But something in Asha's stance, rifle low but ready, made him think twice. He spat in the dust, turned his horse, and rode off without another word. That night, the kid told us his name was Luke. Said he'd stay on till winter if we wanted. Asha nodded once, like she'd been expecting that all along. Winter came early that year. Frost on the pump handle, breath hanging in the morning air. Work didn't slow, but the nights stretched longer, and with them came more talk. Luke started asking questions about the day I found Natona, about why I didn't leave him there. I told him the truth, that sometimes doing the right thing isn't about what's smart. It's about what you can live with afterward. Funny thing is, the kid turned that back on me before the season was out. It was late January when word came through town. Bounty hunters had been seen riding south again. Not the same ones, but cut from the same cloth. Only this time, they weren't looking for Natona. They were looking for me. Luke heard it first, and instead of running, he rode hard to warn us. Said he'd spotted them camping near the old mill. That night, we made a choice. We could hole up, wait for them to come, or we could take the fight to them. Asha's eyes met mine, and I knew which way we were leaning. Before dawn, the three of us saddled up. The air was sharp enough to bite, moon still low. We found them right where Luke said they'd be, two asleep. One on watch, fire burned down to embers. What happened next wasn't the kind of thing you brag about over coffee. We left them alive, but they wouldn't be coming back this way for a long time. Sometimes mercy's not a warm blanket. Sometimes it's just letting a man keep enough breath to crawl somewhere else. By the time the sun came up, we were riding back, frost breaking under the hooves. The land stretching quiet in every direction. And I remember thinking, this wasn't the ranch I'd been running alone all those years. This was something else now. Something worth standing for. But here's the thing. Out here, there's no guarantee that the next set of riders won't be worse than the last. And every time you draw a line in the dirt, you've got to be ready to defend it again. So tell me, would you keep opening your gate to people who might bring trouble with them, or shut it for good, even if it means standing alone?